He's 17 years old. Not 27, 17. At that age, most future stars are still playing in youth leagues, dreaming of a professional contract. But this kid has already rewritten the history of Mexican football. He's broken records in the National League, won an international trophy with the senior national team, and at a home World Cup, he did something only one player in history had ever done before him. And that man's name was Pelé. This is the story of Gilberto Mora, a boy that Mexico is already calling the next global superstar. Where he came from and how, in just a couple of years, he went from an academy pitch to the sensation of the World Cup. Let's go. His full name is Gilberto Rafael Mora Zambrano, born on the 14th of October 2008 in Tuxtla Gutierrez in the southern state of Chiapas. He stands just 5'6". His position, the classic number 10, an attacking midfielder, though he can just as easily play in central midfield or out wide. He plays for Club Tijuana, the famous Xolos. If you ask anyone in Mexico today who will become the new face of the national team after this generation, most will give you a single name, his. But to understand why an entire country is placing such hope on a teenager, we need to go back to the very beginning, back before he was even born. Because football ran in this family long before Gilberto arrived. His father, Gilberto Mora Olayo, was a professional player himself. He turned out for Toluca, Jaguares de Chiapas, Puebla, and that very same Tijuana. And when his playing days ended, he became a coach at the club's academy. And this is where the real story begins. The boy was born in Chiapas, but the family soon moved north, to where his father worked in Tijuana's system, which meant almost his entire childhood was spent not on a playground, but beside the academy's football fields. He literally grew up on the touchline. The coaches who saw him back then all remember the same things: incredible technique, a calm that seemed far beyond his years, and, the thing that surprised them most, a completely grown-up understanding of the game. He read space the way only seasoned masters usually can. He officially joined the Xolos system around the age of 10 or 11, and it became clear almost at once that the ordinary path wasn't for him. Nearly every season, Mora jumped up an age group, playing not against kids his own age, but against older ones. The coaches later admitted something telling. Against his peers, he was simply getting bored. The ball obeyed him too easily, the opponents were too slow. He needed a bigger challenge. And for the academy, he scored so much that everyone else on the pitch just faded into the background. There was only one question left. When would the club dare to trust a 15-year-old with the senior stage? The answer came in the summer of 2024. Tijuana's head coach, Juan Carlos Osorio, a man with a serious reputation, suddenly called the 15-year-old up to train with the first team. Not just to watch, for real. And within a few weeks, his debut. The 19th of August, 2024, against Santos Laguna. Mora comes on as a substitute and almost immediately delivers an assist. In a single evening, all of Mexico learns a new name. But that was only the start. Less than 2 weeks later, on the 31st of August, he scores his first professional goal. And with that goal, he writes himself into the record books. Gilberto Mora becomes the youngest goal scorer in the entire history of Mexico's Liga MX. 15 years and 320 days old. A record that had stood for decades, broken by the foot of a teenager. And here's the fascinating part. When experts tried to describe his style, they barely mentioned Mexican legends. Instead, European names came up. Pedri, Andrés Iniesta, David Silva. Why those three? Because Mora doesn't play like a typical Latin American dribbler. He plays like a European playmaker. Fantastic vision, playing between the lines, barely a wasted touch, and a maturity in his decisions that just shouldn't exist at 17. After one of his World Cup matches, Irish pundits flat out called him the Mexican Pedri. And remember, he plays a position that's almost gone extinct, the classic number 10. There are very few left in the world who can do what he does. By this point, he'd already come up through every one of Mexico's youth teams, under 15s, under 16s, under 17s, under 20s. For the under 15s, 9 goals in 16 games. and he was handed the captain's armband for the under-17s when he himself was just 15. And in 2025, the call to the senior national team. The CONCACAF Gold Cup. There, he debuts, provides an assist, plays in the final, and wins the tournament. With that, Mora becomes the youngest player in Mexican history to win an official international trophy. At an age when his classmates are sitting school exams, he was lifting a senior cup over his head. And now, a moment that in Mexico, people tried not to say out loud. In the spring of 2026, just months before the home World Cup, Mora suffers a painful injury, a form of groin strain that doesn't just heal on command. And for a while, there was a very real fear that the country's great prodigy would miss the very tournament he seemed born for, a World Cup on home soil. Imagine it, an entire nation waiting for your World Cup debut, and you don't even know if you'll set foot on the pitch. But he made it. He recovered right in time for the start of the tournament. And what happened next, the whole world saw. Gilberto Mora arrived at the 2026 World Cup already holding several titles, the youngest player in the entire tournament, and the youngest footballer in the history of the Mexican national team. His debut came in the group match against South Africa. He comes on as a substitute and instantly becomes the youngest Mexican ever to play at a World Cup, a record that had stood since 1930. And he leaves the statisticians stunned. In his time on the pitch, he completes 14 passes out of 14, 100%, at 17 at a World Cup. But the match that truly made him a star came next, the round of 32, Mexico against Ecuador, a packed stadium in Mexico City. And the coach puts the 17-year-old Mora in the starting lineup. And here, history. By starting a World Cup knockout match, Gilberto Mora became the second youngest player ever to do it. Ahead of him, only one man, Pelé, the legend of 1958. And the gap between them is tiny. Pelé was 17 years and 239 days, Mora 259. A record 68 years old, and no one had come close. And that night, Mexico won their first World Cup knockout match in nearly 40 years. When Mora was substituted off, the entire stadium rose to its feet. A standing ovation for a 17-year-old boy. After a run like that, of course, a queue formed behind him. According to reports, Manchester United, Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Chelsea are all watching, giants who rarely get talent wrong. But in the summer of 2026, Mora makes an unexpected move. He extends his contract with Tijuana. No rushed escape to Europe. Both the club and his family agreed. First, he'd grow stronger at home, and only then move on the best possible terms, with a clear path to a future transfer written in. Cold, grown-up calculation at 17. And that, perhaps, is the most telling thing about him. Every coach says the same. Humility, calm, discipline, and not a trace of an inflated ego. Even after his biggest matches, he repeats the same thing. What matters most is the team's success, not his personal records. So here's a question for you. Is Gilberto Mora a future Ballon d'Or winner who'll lead Mexico to its first great title? Or just another Wonderkid inflated by the hype? Let me know in the comments. Hit like if you want a full breakdown of this kid's game on its own, and subscribe. We follow the brightest stories in world football. See you next time.